Hi everyone, Frank Spencer here, principal at Kedge and lead instructor at the Future School with another episode of There's Got to Be a Better Way. Took a little bit of a hiatus. We've been super busy. We just finished, as a matter of fact, our Summer of Foresight Advanced Symposium, which is fantastic. Alumni from literally around the world came to Orlando, and we had 5 days of innovation foresight and strategy foresight and foresight implementation in companies, and hopefully one day you'll join us for one of our advanced symposiums. So I want to take just a minute to talk to you today. I know that in the last couple of episodes I've been talking about the difference between forecasting and foresight and why data does not drive foresight, and I'm still sort of on that, but drifting away from it a little bit, because really what we do here at There's Got to Be a Better Way is really talk about how everything can be fueled by foresight, strategy and business, but also our personal lives and society and city building and so many things. Because really, when you stop and think about it, right? The future. We need to create better pathways to the future. It's not enough just to do the right thing today, but not think about what the consequences of both those right things and different decisions might be on the next week, the next month, the next year, the next 5 years, 10 years, etc., etc., etc. We have to create actions today that create better pathways to the future. We need to, as a species, be future thinkers. And that's not going to happen just by accumulating more and more data, by making better machines, by making better algorithms. Listen, as I've said on previous episodes, I am not anti-data. I am not anti-AI, machine learning, and algorithms, predictive analytics. Although there's so many articles and so many research projects going on right now that really say that we're not using it wisely. And why aren't we using it wisely? Because we're leaving, again, as we have done throughout history, the human out of the equation. Everything that we do has to be human-centric. This is why I love this idea of decision intelligence over artificial intelligence. Those datas and those numbers really have to be about solving the problems in the immediate once we've created better pathways to the future. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just stop for a second to tell you that I read an article this week that talked about the difference between understanding and intelligence, between knowing and wisdom. And I know that you've read a ton of articles about this before, but I want to take a different turn on this that you probably haven't thought about before, because I really want to relate it to being a futures thinking species, using foresight to drive humanity forward over the next 24 hours, over the next 100 years. You see, knowledge is really gaining data and knowing about just certain points, about certain nodes, about certain disciplines, or certain silos of intelligence. And that's great. When we become more and more intelligent, our species needs to become more and more intelligent. And quite honestly, that's where that hard, quantified data really comes in. Data not just being numbers, by the way, but being nodes or silos of information. When we gain more information, we become more intelligent. That is not wisdom. Wisdom is what drives our species forward. Intelligence does not drive our species forward. I know. And listen, you won't find somebody who is more excited and more on the side of intelligence and information and science than me. You'll find some equally as much, but you won't find anybody more so. I believe that we have a dearth of intelligence and information and belief in science today, and we need to reverse that. And there's a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good work to really reverse that. We've done a bad job. We fell in a hole. We need to get ourselves out of that hole. But wisdom is what really drives us forward. Wisdom is about stories. Wisdom is about the greater context. Wisdom is about the larger narrative. And quite honestly, and as this article even pointed out, wisdom is about the holistic understanding of all of those nodes together and how they counteract and react and converge and collide. how they create a larger context and sometimes even contradict one another. It is dancing with complexity, embracing complexity, being comfortable with uncertainty, understanding the holistic or larger context of all of this knowledge together that doesn't follow a linear path. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, as you've heard me say before. Quite honestly, wisdom is the sweet spot of knowledge, of information, of intelligence. So we really have to move beyond intelligence and information and knowledge if we're really going to drive humanity forward. And I know this sounds so self-serving, but I'm democratizing the future. That's what There's Got to Be a Better Way is all about. Let's democratize the future. How do we do that? We become a futures thinking species. And that means that we, as people, as humanity, have to become better sense makers, better meshers, and better transformationalists. I know today we've talked all about conservative and progressive, and neither one of those will take us forward. We have to become transformationalists. And that's what foresight is. Foresight is not supposed to be, again, simplified down to data crunching and numbers and what's the data around it and what's data suggested for the next 5 years. That is not foresight. Foresight is wisdom about the future. It's sight that looks forward, creates a pathway for humanity today to create actions and narratives and stories that will lead us into brighter, transformative, aspirational futures. Now, that doesn't mean that when we practice the actual discipline of foresight, which has methods and tools and a mindset, that there's no numbers involved, that there's no data involved, definitely that there's no wisdom, intelligence or knowledge involved. There most definitely is all of those things. But practicing foresight is a human developmental philosophy. It's a way, not just of thinking, but of humanity to point or aim their arrow forward. That's what true foresight really is. And that's why it's a mind shift. It's not a data shift. So again, I'm not against data, but we need to learn how to make data our slave, and we must be its master. And right now, even people who are super excited about data and machine learning and AI, generally speaking, tend to fall into the trap of being the slave to it and saying it's going to become our master, or even allowing it to become our master. We must not let that happen. We need to utilize those tools in the larger context, in the holistic context of humanity being sense makers, convergers, pattern recognizers, and transformationalists. And those are mindset shifts. You know, there's been a lot of talk about what's going to happen when AI takes all of our jobs away. Listen, if we developmentally evolve as a species to be sense makers, pattern recognizers, and transformationalists, then no AI can take your job away, because we cannot reduce humanity to numbers, to machines. I love the development of technology. It may not sound like it on this video, but if you know me and you know the work that we've done, you'll know that's true. But I love it in the context of a pathway forward for humanity. So actually, I love that AI will take away most of the jobs that don't allow humanity to really evolve into sense makers, pattern recognizer, and transformationalists, because we have fallen into the rut of these machine-oriented jobs. Good for the machines. I'm glad they're coming. I accept my overlords because I want them to take away the stuff that's keeping humanity from the path of foresight, real foresight. And that's why, again, machines and algorithms and artificial intelligence is not going to take away foresight. That's what we're evolving into as future thinkers, into foresight, a foresight species. Fingers crossed. We need to be evolving into that. And so wisdom equals foresight. Foresight equals wisdom. Wisdom equals complexity. Foresight equals complexity. I hope you're hearing me on this, because I want to help democratize foresight around the world. We need to democratize foresight if we're going to take humanity into the future. Machines won't take us there. Machines will be a tool. AI will be a great tool. Machine learning will be a tool. But we are not going to practice foresight through data and through machine learning and through artificial intelligence. Foresight is a way of thinking up the spiral of evolutionary development for humanity. That is practicing foresight. It's a field. It has tools. It has methodologies. It can be applied to strategy. It is applied to strategy successfully. It's applied to city development and innovation, organizational development, and human development. But ultimately, foresight is the path of wisdom, and wisdom is a path of foresight. I hope you enjoyed my There's Got to Be a Better Way today, because certainly all that I said today means there's got to be a better way to practice corporate business and organizational development and governmental development and policy. And we have to be sense makers, pattern recognizers, and transformationalists. Go democratize the future. Until next time, this is Frank Spencer, and there's got to be a better way.